Well, hello everybody and welcome to the live stream. So excited to have you here today. We are going to be continuing on in our journey of building a website inside of Framer from start to finish. And if you've been following along in the series, you know that there is a link down in the description, also pinned in the chat if you're here on YouTube, where you can grab the free completed Framer file as well as the design assets, the design file for this over in Figma. We got people jumping in the chat like MM and Daily Intern and Vargas, and we are very, very excited to have you here. Man, oh man, what a great Thursday. We're gonna be building some websites. Why don't we jump right in and talk about where we left off. We have our Figma file with our home page. We're almost fully done with, actually. And then we got a couple of other supporting pages that we're gonna be building out over here in Framer. You can see I have my page built out, and we can just go ahead and preview that really quickly. We put some kind of animations in there. It looks really good. We have nice looping animation to our 3D elements. We also have a nice little appear and scroll animation to our element right there. Looks pretty cool. And then we have created these cards, and again, everything's working really, really nicely in our responsive views, all the different styles as well. So that's looking really good. But we really wanted these cards to stick, and they didn't. And we're going to go ahead and figure that out here probably first thing. We created this really nice image switcher, which I just updated the images inside. That's really nice. A big component with multiple states here inside of Framer. We also have our sections. Again, these are working really, really nice inside of our responsive views. And then we also had our pricing cards. We did something kind of interesting yesterday. We did those in a grid, and I kind of popped those back out and just went into a straight stack because I think that works a little bit better. Just nice and clear and easy and readable. And that is where we left off yesterday. Today, we're going to pick right back up. So if you are inside of the Framer file, then stick with me. Let's do it. If you're just joining right now, feel free to watch today, but go all the way back to the beginning. And also, if you are new to the stream, just keep in mind that you can find a lot more educational content like this, learning how to design, learning how to build websites, learning all the nuances of certain platforms inside of my Design Champs community. All you have to do is go over to designchamps.io, or you can scan that little QR code right now with your phone. Free to sign up, or if you want to become a Plus member, you get access to even more things, more live sessions with me, more behind the scenes content, more kind of custom and amazing educational content and courses for you. If you also are really into courses, keep in mind that my 30-day UI design program, which is usually valued at around $800, is currently half off. It's the last few days, final days of the summer sale, because summer is over, y'all. And you can learn how, like, fully, completely what UI design is, learn everything you need to get started in this hectic job market. A tool like this, a course like this, is really going to boost your chances, your confidence, and your skill set. All right, so with that being said, let's jump right back in and let's start working. I know we had this issue with the cards, and really what I want them to do is I want them to stick at the top, and I want them to sit on top of each other as they're going. That's really what I want for my cards. So why don't we fix this? I know that when I click on one of my cards here, we have our cards each in a container. I actually get this handy dandy little information eye that pops up because I set the type away from absolute or relative, and I put it on sticky, and it tells me, hey, please note that sticky will only work if all the parent layers have overflow set to visible. You're like, wow, that's so funky. Come on, Framer. Well, that's just kind of how the web works, and they've made it, try to make it as simple as possible for you. So we're just going to check all of the parent containers, right? So we know that each one of these cards is considered a child. The immediate parent is going to be the container itself, and that is set to overflow visible, and that's what we need for all of them. So let's just do a quick check. Is this one set to overflow visible? It is. And this section is inside of the entire desktop. That one is set to overflow hidden. There's your problem. We turn that to overflow visible. We should now be able to scroll, and our card should stick to the top. Now, why this gap that we're getting? Well, this gap is because we've set on each one of our containers, our cards, we're going to do about 120 pixels from the top. So we can actually do something kind of fun and playful because each of them are set at 120 pixels, and we may or may not like the spacing of them. Also, when they stack on top of each other, because that's how they're going to work using the layers panel, they're just like fully stacking on top of each other. Maybe you want that. Maybe you do. Maybe we bring this one to be, this top one to be more like 100. Let's just do like 100, and then this second one could be like 120, and this third one could be more like 140. I'm just holding down shift and pressing up on my keyboard for that. And now as I scroll, you'll see this one sticks a little closer to the top. This one actually stops a little bit below it, and this one stops a little bit. Well, it's just going to scoop them all up. And you can't really see them because they don't have any style on them to separate. Why don't we add some style on? I'm going to grab all three of those containers, just move myself out of the way. I'm going to come down and add a border style that we've been doing, which is just adding white here and then just bringing it down to something like 4 or 5 pixels. Let's do 5%, not pixels. Boom. And then why don't we add a little bit of a drop shadow? We haven't done this yet. We'll make this a real subtle drop shadow. We're going to do the y-axis of 1. And let's see. So you can see our little drop shadow on there is kind of working now. Why don't we blur and bring the blur of it up just a little bit? Let's put the drop shadow there. And let's just check the opacity of our drop shadow. 25%. Let's see how it looks. I'm just going to back out of there really quickly. Let's grab those containers and just make sure our border also is solid and the width is 1. Okay, that seems like it's going to work. Let's press play again really quickly on our prototype. We could reload it to get a little bit of a smoother animation there. Looks really good. Yeah, see, now we get that nice chill, oof, pardon me, my voice, that nice chill little border. And when we see the next card going up and over, there's a little bit of that drop shadow magic happening. Very nice. And it stops. Look at our stack. Look at how nice that looks. Nice, subtle little stack. And then when these ones come up, it's actually, the stacking here doesn't matter because it's grabbing and it's going to pull the rest of them up with it. That's just a nice little effect. It's subtle. It's subtle. And you know what? If you were to do this in code or using other platforms, just to create that cool, subtle little effect, it would take a really long time, actually. A lot of lines of code, but here in Framer, it's actually really, really easy. So that looks really, really nice, okay? Everything's flowing. Let's press escape on our keyboard. Go back out. We have everything working. Why don't we build the rest of our sections, and then we can actually build the rest of our pages. Before we actually, let me just stop because I think I saw a little issue, a little QA, a little quality assurance issue. One of the things that is kind of frustrated me at the end of yesterday's stream is that we have here, we love a staggered layout, right, left, right, left. We call that a waterfall layout. It's real nice. It's kind of cute. It's wonderful. But when we get into the tablet and the mobile kind of view of this, it is a little distracting as we read it to go text on top, image on bottom, and then all of a sudden there's an image right there. It feels broken, right? So we want to change the flow of this document. So why don't we just really quickly grab that card and just drop it down. That's the easy way to do it. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to grab this entire card inside of our container and drop it down. And speaking of quality assurance, the padding that's carrying over is not really working great, is it? So we need to fix this because our padding is super duper funky. Let's bring our padding down something like 10 pixels, and we wonder why a little bit, why our padding or why our elements are not expanding appropriately. Let's just grab these. It looks like our text box is actually set to fix. Why don't we set that to fit the content? Boom, that should make a pretty nice change. Fit the content everywhere. Great. Now it's kind of respecting that 10 pixel border. And why don't we just do our padding and just, let's do the top can be 20 and the bottom can be 20 for that card, okay? And the reason we're doing that is because I think our element itself had some padding on, our text element itself. Ooh, this is a little funky. So why don't we go 20 here? And I'll tell you what we'll do is from the very outset, why don't we take any sort of this padding off? I don't know how that got on there, but now we have a nice crisp line going down our text, and it's real simple for our card, okay? We're going to do the same thing here, like on all of them. We're just going to make sure our padding here for our text is down to 0. Beautiful. It's the main container itself that was messing us up, that card. Let's just grab it one more time, take the padding down to 0. Great. Now we get that nice, consistent look and feel. That's what we're actually going for, right? And we change the order, so it's text, image, text, image. Beautiful. Everything is flowing really, really nicely, okay? So let's just keep cruising here and keep designing the rest of our layout. So we had, let's see, as we scroll down, we got past our pricing section. We got into our, we got into this, okay, into our let's see, what do we call this? Like our social proof section, right? So why don't we just copy this really quickly, because one of the things is like, that's just the easiest way. Instead of exporting all the assets to the desktop and then re-importing the assets, who wants to do that? Why don't we just paste those over here really quickly? It doesn't have like another section, but remember our section, our kind of like workflow and our process is we want everything. I'm just going to press Control L to collapse all my layers, and let's open our desktop back up. We have all of this nice naming convention that we got going on here. So we're just going to do another one and respect it and call it section social proof. Beautiful, wonderful. That's what we want. Why don't we, I don't think we need this background here at all, and we don't need the pricing cards, all of these elements either. Boom. Let's just delete if we can. Oh, we're getting some sort of weird issue. Boom. And let's zoom out and see what the heck is going on. Yes, we want to delete our selection like that. Okay, so now we have this empty container. Great. Now we could just slam these items directly inside, or we could do something a little bit more interesting. And I always like to do something a little bit more interesting. First, why don't we take this text and let's get it inside of our container. Let's make sure it's using one of our styles. Like for instance, I don't care, body. Let's just throw the body style on it. But now we have all of these logos here, right? So let's just grab these really quickly and get rid of this whole container element thing that we had out here. We don't need that. We just need the logos, right? Okay, great. Why don't we pull in a Framer kind of item here? We're going to insert something that's called a ticker, right? And it's just going to allow us to have an asset. Whoop, it's inserting it like that. Let's drop it into our layout. Why don't we set the whole thing to fill and shrink down the size of our ticker? And you're like, what the heck is a ticker? Well, it's kind of like a stock ticker. It's going to take anything we connect to it, and it's going to tick it by at whatever speed that we want. We can add certain interactions to it as well. So it's really easy. All we have to do is just grab the little buttons on the right-hand side, and we just want to connect, literally connect the dots. So I'm just going to connect, well, really quickly first. We need to, let's just, yeah, these are all good. But let's put each of them inside of a container really quickly. So we'll just put it in a frame. Doesn't need to be in a stack. So I'm just holding down Command or Control and pressing Enter on all of these. Boom, boom, and boom. Big bada boom. If you're a fan of The Fifth Element, that's a little movie joke for you. Here we go. So now we have a frame, and now I can actually drag and connect to that frame. Okay, so I'm going to drag and connect. See how they're popping up? As soon as I let go, it pops up on my ticker there, just like so. And if we were to press Command P to play our prototype and scroll down, you'll see that there it goes. Our ticker is ticking our logos by, and it's actually repeating them. It's looping them for us, which is kind of stinking nice, if you ask me. Now we have some options here, which are always really great, because with the ticker selected in my layers panel, I can jump down here, and you can see my ticker is a built-in component. It's a Framer component. It comes from the folks at Framer, but we have some options here. It's like I can add new elements if I named those frames, right? Like if it was like Nike, Apple, Adobe, whatever, I can move them around in whatever order I want. You'll see the order change when I do that. You can change the speed. It is a little fast. Why don't we change it at like 70? We're making it kind of run from right to left, center aligning it. We can change the gap to the elements inside, maybe 20 instead. Do we need the padding? We can get rid of the padding. And then we have this like clipping option. Do we want it to fade out? Yes, we could. Or do we want it just to be very stark, like a hard line on the end? So we're going to say yes, we want it to fade. You'll notice it's starting to fade off into the distance there. We like that. And you can change some of the options for that as well. And hey, when we hover, it slows down the speed while we're hovering, okay? So we could slow it down to like half the speed when we hover over it. Let's press Command or Control P again and scroll down, and now you can see our ticker is going a little bit slower, and when we hover over it, we get that nice slow down effect. Notice how it's kind of coming in from the darkness. That is the ticker in action. And we just keep these assets, these elements over on, whoa, I grabbed things outside of the frame, but we just keep them over on the side of our artboard. That is what we do. And notice that ticker looks pretty good on all of our device sizes. So section done, animation complete. We like it. And if you have questions, I see Moonmita has a question, George has a question, ask those. There will be a Q&A, multiple Q&A times throughout, all right? So I'm going to grab this element right here. Again, I'm just going to Figma to Framer plugin really quickly because, again, we're trying to like speed this process. You guys have seen me, if you've watched the whole series, you've seen me build layout upon layout upon layout. I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to come into my layers, and I'm going to take that social proof while that thing is happening. Whoa, it just tossed it right inside. We didn't want that. Let's grab that whole thing, exit right there, Command X, Command V, put it on the side. Let's grab our section, and we'll call this one section banner. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste, and boom, section banner like that. Again, because we like all the stuff inside, let's delete all our stuff inside, and let's grab our actual banner, Command or Control X, pop it inside just like so. Now this banner had a little bit of a different, you know, like kind of feeling, like it's not always going all the way out to the edges. That is incorrect, right? We want it to kind of contain. So we're going to make this banner not be fixed, but fill. Boom, there we go. Now it's going to respect the edges there, but it does have a fixed height. We could fix that if we wanted to, make it fit the content. We're not opposed to that. But we have like the banner tucked inside of the container, so that's kind of weird. So, pardon me. We could turn this into a layout if we wanted to. I'm honestly just going to leave it as is. I'm going to replace that button inside because that button is super broken. So it is kind of weird when you're so used to working with layout. It's almost like my heart desires the stack of that layout setting. So you know what? I'm going to go back on my word there. And I'm just going to add a layout here, and I'm going to cough one more time while I'm doing it. Boom. Okay, we've coughed. We've gotten that out of the way. Let's get back to work here. I'm going to add the layout by selecting the frame there and adding our layout, our stack. I'm going to make it go from top to bottom. Beautiful, something like that. And we have our button inside. Now, we had like a couple of 3D elements in here, so I'm just going to rename those, like, you know, 3D1. I'm going to name this 3D2. I'm going to put those near each other because it doesn't really matter because both of those need to get turned into absolute positioned elements. Let's put them in the middle so we can start playing with them. Notice there they are, and I'm kind of shoving them off to the sides just like they are in the design. And this one's going to go more down here in the bottom. Everything else, and we can just lock those now, Command or Control L. Everything else is going to be in the middle. Headline text, button. That's our kind of direction here. So why don't we have this fit the content, beautiful. Again, let's have this fill and then also fit the content. We love it. Love to see it. And then there is our link. Get that thing out of there. Let's bring our button inside and turn it to our gray version. That feels a lot better. Head back to layers, take the banner here and just change the gap. We have nicer kind of gap settings inside, and now we can take the whole thing and not have it be fixed height, but have it fit the content, and we can add some padding all around this thing, and that will bring our size back a little bit. Okay, so right about there. But why don't we unlock our items, our big 3D items, and just kind of move them again off into the distance. If you wanted to animate these, you totally could. I mean, it could be a whole lot of fun. Why don't we just do that really quickly? We'll do a looping animation. We'll mirror it. We'll make it rotate 20 degrees, and we'll do that linear, and we'll change the time to be something like, oh man, yeah, like let's do it slowly, like 20 seconds. We love it. We love it. Now we're going to reload our design. Scroll down with our sticky cards, with our interactive component, with our price cards here. That feels pretty good. Our ticker, and look at that. We have this animated banner. It feels oh so nice. We love it. We just love it. Okay, that's good stuff. All right, now good. I love everything that's happening here. Let's just do a few things. Overflow hidden right there, and we're going to take our other sections and set their overflow to hidden, because we just want to make sure that we're not getting a sort of weird scrolling. There we go. Yeah, so that section that I had there with the cards, everything was then set to overflow visible. But sometimes you can get this issue where all of a sudden you get weird horizontal scrolling. So you just want to make sure that any sections that are not this container, like that have to do with this sticky kind of interaction, we want those to be set to overflow hidden. So, and that's going to limit, like, I think it was our ticker that was probably giving us some of that left and right horizontal scroll. But look, now we have this nice animated card here. That looks beautiful. We love everything that's happening. All right, cool. We are almost done. We have this really cool section for our blog. But first, let's just bring in the footer because we know that's going to be real easy. Again, I'm just going to copy. You could build all this from scratch if you want to, like they say here in the South in Texas. Let's just move this in. Beautiful. Get into our container. Get rid of it. Select the container and paste our footer inside of it. Now our footer, I might leave inside of the container for now. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to grab all of these elements and just drag them in place. And we don't want that to be absolutely positioned. We want everything to be relative and fill the space. Hey, we could fix that, I suppose. I think we might have to rebuild this thing. It's going to be a little bit of a 3-column situation. So why don't we just rebuild it from scratch? Because that looks like crap. Sometimes the copy and paste works really, really well, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to grab a couple of items here. I'm going to take my elements, my logos here, and I'm going to put them inside of an auto layout inside of Figma. And we're just going to start kind of collecting things together. That belongs, hi Chihuahua. That, like these elements, all three of these belong in an auto layout. We don't want this to be set to fill. We want it to be fixed width. Go back to being a normal size, my friend. Beautiful. Okay. And we'll fix those later. But let's just grab this for now. Boom, we're grabbing the elements and we're rebuilding over here inside of our container. Just like that. Okay. Wonderful. I love it. Let's see. We didn't have like a consistent logo element. So we could componentize that so it's the same throughout. So if we change the logo in one place, but it's okay. We don't need it. Let's grab this and we're just going to turn these internal links off on the design document. I like to do that sometimes on my design documents so that clients can see things. We're just going to Shift A, put those together. That's super weird that our title disappeared. So stinking strange. Let's go back and just grab all three of them, I suppose. Oh, I know why. It's like not in the same little element there. Aha, we're going to do that and Shift A. Beautiful. And again, we're going to copy this over. Tedium coming at you right now. Okay, great. Now what we can do is we can kind of handcraft this because when I look at my layers, it's trying to align everything top to bottom. Let's take our stack, go left to right. We're already halfway home. Feels really, really good. Take all of these elements and just set them to fill, except for our logo. Ooh, that's really weird. We need to lock. Oh, it brought all of these in as separate elements. No, sir. Why don't we remove this auto layout? Or we could just grab each of these individual ones and copy them. Let's fix that really quickly because that is funky. We want to be able to link each of these. So we're going to put them in their own stack like so, left to right, make them go to the start so they're always kind of left aligned, increase the gap on them to maybe 20. That feels a little bit better. Our text can be fill, and we're going to constrain the size of our logo. All that works good. Okay, great. Now let's figure this out. What's going on with this weirdness? We're going to grab all of this stuff, take it out of whatever was happening there, and we'll call this a column. And everything, we just need all of these text links to fill left and right and fit the content top and bottom. And beautiful. We're going to turn all of those into links here in a second. And let's see, what is this? We got another column like that. Okay, I love it. We don't need to capitalize those layer names. Let's just do one more inside of our container. We basically just rebuilt our footer, didn't we? So except this one's going to say like info. And I forget what it says over there, like privacy policy, terms and conditions. Okay, let's get in there and just do it really quickly. Privacy policy. Wow, that's not how you spell that. Privacy policy. Here we go. Terms and conditions. And what was one more? FAQ. Sure, why not? Highlight that and just do FAQ. Great. Okay, we have Majority of it is done. And here's what we want to do now. You can see like, it's interesting the way that these 3 columns kind of lined up. They're all equally taking space, which is kind of what you want. So we just want to make sure that these are set to fill and all set to 1 fractional unit. FR stands for fractional unit. It's just going to split everything up evenly using a mathematical equation. So for instance, if I want this side to take up more fractional units, I can bump that to 2, and now it's 2 fractional units here, 1 and 1. That's a total of 4, and this is taking 2 of the 4. I actually kind of like that. I feel like that's a little bit better, if you ask me. There is a line, and then there's this like all rights reserved kind of deal. We could just skip that. I think this is a pretty decent little navigation or bottom footer. So cool. We have our section footer. Is there any sort of division? Yeah, the top of it. And we're doing a little bit of that top border thing. So we're going to take the entire section banner right here. And this one it has like a lot of top and bottom padding. So we're going to mix it up here just a little bit more, like 20. And then we're going to have the height of it fit the content. And that'll shrink it down quite a bit. We're getting like a lot here. So let's do 60 and 60. It's kind of center lining everything. And then we'll just grab a border, and that border is going to be custom. It's only going to go on the top. What is it going to be? It's going to be white. It's probably going to be down at like 5% or something like that. Great. Now we have our footer. This is fantastic. Now this layout's going to change, obviously. It's not going to work well in tablet. Look at that. It feels really funky and weird. So we're going to have to fix that. Speaking of fixed, it's currently set to fixed. So why don't we fix that to fill? It's still not going to look really good over in the mobile. Look how it breaks there. Like, that's problematic, right? So it would make sense. We could either manually do this, or we could just come in here and really quickly take the entire section footer, which is what we need to rename it. Let's turn it into a component. Command Option K, section footer. We'll just change that to say footer. Okay, so now look, it's going to give us all 3 of those sizes because it was on. I love this about Framer. It was already on 3 different artboards or frames: desktop, tablet, mobile. So when you create a component, it goes, you probably want all those sizes, right? Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Framer. Thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, so now we just need to work out any of the little issues inside of our footer. Like, for instance, our text had weird line breaks inside of it. We don't want that. All of these should be set to fill. That's fantastic. Terms and conditions is breaking onto a second line, but where it really starts breaking down is here. So we're just going to grab the entire container and turn it to you guessed it, top to bottom. The only problem is now that this thing is still taking up 2 rows. So we could either fix that or 2 fractional units. We could drop it down, and now it's the same on all of them. Actually kind of like that a little bit better. It's a little bit more usable, but look how quickly we just fixed everything. We just made sure all the fractional units were the same, and we just changed the direction of the stack from left to right to top to bottom, and boom shakalaka, we can come in here. We have the tablet and we have the phone already applied. Oh, that was so fast and easy to do that. All right, we have all the components of our website. I might just come in here to this section, social proof, and just change some of the kind of heights here because it doesn't need to be so big, you know what I'm saying? And great, fantastic. All of that is fitting, and the gap inside is really, really high. So why don't we just do gap of 10? I think that looks a little bit closer to our design, right? And while we're doing that, we've done quite a bit of work already. We're pretty much finished now with the home page. Why don't we take some time and answer a couple of questions? All right, let's scroll back through the questions. What do we got? George says, what is the learning curve for Framer? I was answering this the other day. It is so much simpler than the learning curve to most other like coding platforms or no code platforms. I find it to be very, very fast. Again, I'm saying that because I'm very, very used to tools like Figma, design tools like PenPot, Figma, like even Photoshop has a lot of the similar characteristics, right? If you're used to Adobe XD or anything like that back in the day, then it's going to make a lot of sense. The learning curve is going to be very, very easy for you. There is still some things that you're going to have to learn that have to do with web development. Like, for instance, like, what is this whole like overflow thing? And what's the difference between absolute and relative and sticky positioning? Those are all web terms. So you'll have to learn some of those, but you can learn them a lot faster, in my opinion, when you're working with Framer, okay? George says Framer or Webflow. I think both are great. I think I'm a person that's going to recommend the right tool for the job. And my voice today. And sometimes there's other tools that are right tool for the job. I have moved the majority of all of my client work, actually all of my client work, not majority, and personal projects over to Framer because it matches my workflow. So here's what I will say. If you are a designer and you don't want to write classes or combine classes or think about divs or containers, if you don't want to write custom code and variables and all that kind of stuff, then I would stay away from Webflow. I would lean towards Framer. If you just want to design stuff, if you want to skip Figma and just design directly in Framer, then Framer is going to be for you because you publish directly from Framer. It's a website like that. So if you're used to more of a design flow, then Framer is your jam. That's what I'll recommend. Moonmeat to ask this question. Can you please show how to link each and every logo in the ticker to their consecutive websites? I couldn't find the link option in the ticker component. Very interesting question. Yeah, let's go back and do that really quickly because this ticker is really pointing at the assets themselves. So what we want to do is go to the assets that we place there, and then you're going to walk up and add a link. And it can either link to an internal page or it could link to something like designchamps.io, like that. New tab, yes, bingo bango. It's our very first one with that little sun and moon kind of thing. Let's preview and play and scroll down and make sure that our link works, right? So there's our sun. Notice that the other ones don't have a cursor on top. When I click that, it's going to open up designchamps.io. So go to the actual asset itself, Moonmeeta, and link it there, and then put it and then connect the ticker to those linked elements. Great question. Good technical question. Do you recommend Framer for beginners? Hamza says, yes, I do. Recommend it 100%. Get on it. It's great. Is Framer and Framer Motion related? Oh, that's a good question. Let's check out Framer Motion. Ooh, Framer Motion. Ooh, yep, up. I think Framer Motion is related. Yes, absolutely. It's connected to Framer. This is like, I believe, like the learning platform for doing all like animation and all that kind of stuff. So yes, good question. It is connected. Boom. Nick Yance says, I'm currently building a client site in Framer while watching your stream in the background. Let's go, Nick. Way to multitask, baby. I like that a lot. That's cool to hear. All right, these are great questions, comments. Appreciate you. Again, really quickly, if you want to ask me more questions like this, you can always just scan the QR code, become a design champ. I highly encourage you to become a plus member. It's about the cost of a fancy cup of coffee every month. Like if you buy a decked out latte, it's the same as signing up for the plus stuff. And when you become a plus member, you get access to all sorts of extra stuff, right? Not just the things that the free members get access to. So if you go into Design Champs and you notice we have our plus members over here, they're going to get access to member posts and a forum, a Q&A forum, and a chat room. And we have premium resources for them and all the video interviews you see me do on YouTube that are just clips. You'll get the full interviews over here with people like Pablo Stanley and Dan Mall and Femke and MDS, as well as plus events. Also, when you go to courses, you'll notice that we got a couple of free courses in there. If you want to master auto layout, do that for free. If you want to do UI design fundamentals or starting your creative career, you can do that. But we're starting to build out a roster of plus courses and premium courses that only our plus members have access to. Those would be the blue ones and the black ones. And so as that library of educational content grows, you're going to want to be there. So sign up, become a Design Champ Plus member, make it part of your growth journey. All right, we're jumping back in. These are all fantastic questions. Let's do it. We pretty much have our website built, I think, don't we? I think we need to make a couple of little changes here. Let's just... Oh, what I love about this also is that like these things can be locked, but then when you get down into the layers panel, you can still manipulate them. They're just like locked, so you can't click on them on canvas. So I'm just changing and kind of reworking a couple of things here in my banner because it seemed to be a little bit funky. Let's just make sure we're filling there. There we go. We fixed our banner pretty much completely. All right, we love it. We love to see it. Now, there was that blog section. So let's talk about blog a little bit. We're going to build our next page and we're going to start interacting a little bit with the CMS. We're going to start doing a little bit more of some advanced stuff. So let's get started with blog, shall we? I'm going to go back into our framer here, and I'm going to go to pages, and you can see I have this like placeholder like blog page, right? Let's just delete that for now. We don't need that. But let's create a new page. And notice this, it says when I create a new page, a new normal page, do I need a specific 404 page? Let's slam one of those in there really quickly. Cool, we like that. And then, but do we need a new CMS page? Yes, please. Let's add the sample, and notice what it does. It immediately created a blog collection for us. This is in the CMS. How do we get there? How do we get back there? Well, you can see Framer's telling us it's made us a sample blog. Really nice, appreciate it. But up in this top menu, we have the ability to insert all those cool things. Then we have layout tools, right? Then we have text that we've been using. We've just been using the hotkeys for all these. But we also have the CMS. When I click that, I jump into the CMS area. So it's set up a collection for us. This collection consists of some sort of, if we click on it, a title, a slug, a date, an image, and then a rich text field where we can actually blog. Okay, so really cool. We have our collection. When we go back out, it made for us something a little bit special here, right? It made a blog page, and then inside you can see the actual blog itself. So this is like your list page, and then this is going to be like your actual article itself. Okay, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna build out the blog page maybe really quickly, because this blog page, if you'll notice here, this whole layout is very, very similar. And when I say similar, I mean identical to the actual blog page itself, right? So we're going to build it out there, and we're going to connect everything, and then we can just take that thing and slam it into the home page as well, kind of like a module or a widget. So I think what I want to do is go back to Framer, go back to home. I'm going to grab my navigation. Probably didn't need to do that. Probably could have just thrown it in there as an asset. Why don't we move it up to the top? And we have some sort of, I think, spacing going on here. So why don't we just zero out all the spacing, and we're basically just like kind of grabbing a couple of elements. I think we had our banner layer in there too, section banner, and we probably have the footer too, right? Gotta have the footer. So we're just copying those elements, and we're going over to our blog, and we are pasting those suckers in. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we have those, seems like across our footer and our banner, and we need kind of like this section title thing. We have that going on in a lot of places, do we not? So why don't we just get this section header and copy that over to our blog as well. So just pop that right in there. Boom, we'll move it to the top. I like what we're doing. Now what we have here is, notice, okay, and I think we have a big, like we have a gap like on the stack that is the frame, or the actual site itself. We don't need that, okay? But what we do have is section header. Ooh, we have to do one thing. Let's go back home here really quickly. Just go section gallery. Let's grab the whole thing like that instead. I did a broken thing. We're gonna pop that whole section, that style that we've built, right? So we have all the padding and all the fun stuff with it. Let's get rid of that section header, because this has a section header inside of it. We just need to get rid of the feature. Great, beautiful. All right, now we have the blog. Notice like it's just represented here, like here's a big piece of text, get that out of there. That's just a headline. But we have this blog list. We can now drag it into our containing element. Fantastic. And notice that it's just populating stuff. So like we can do a lot of stuff here, obviously, like, but the first thing we probably want to do is make sure that it is filling the entire container and it doesn't have this max width on it. So let's just remove that max width. Boom, it's slamming all of these elements out there. It is real ugly right now. And what we need to do is make it look like this, right? We need like a list of these things. So what I actually like to do is I actually just like to copy the individual element there. Let's just come over here and paste. And this is what we're going to need our blog list item to look like, okay? So when we click back inside, you'll notice like all of these are inside of this very special icon here. Notice the stack, that's the list, and the highlighted little thing is telling us this is what is made, or this is really like inside, like is where your like list is gonna be, or your list items. Let's X that out. Why don't we just come in and delete all of these things, empty it, paste this thing inside, and look how immediately it grabbed everything. But notice how like everything's really ugly right now. Okay, everything's very, very ugly. And all the names and titles are the same because we haven't connected to our CMS any of these elements. Like this image, this headline, this tag, all of those things need to be connected, right? Okay, so we're gonna do all of that, no problem. And we can even take our blog list and figure out like, hey, what are we gonna do here? Like, we're gonna stack this thing, we can wrap it around, like we're gonna do all this, like left to right, maybe put it in a grid. Like I think we have a 3-up grid here, so we're already starting to kind of like design a little bit. Okay, cool. And our blog list item we want, obviously, notice that it's cool. It kind of immediately injects something for us. It's going to take us to the blog, and it's going to find the URL slug for us. Love that. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Everything's so far, again, looking a little messy. Yes. But is it going to look a lot less messy in a second? Heck yeah, it is. Okay. We like that. Relative, beautiful columns. Love that. Row width. It's going to fit the content. I think. Yeah, okay, we're going to get into this in a little bit, but first let's connect the dots, shall we? Okay. And actually we could have done this on the outside first. Let's just pull our container open really quick. This is going to be our text here. And what do we have here? I think we have a chip. We actually ditched the chip for now. I don't think we're using that. And let's just take all of these things off and put a layout on. That's going to make things really easy. This is going to be our text bit right there. And this is our image, actually. So this is going to be our card. And then we have our next bit here. This is going to be our image. Get rid of the border. That's a weird thing that it does. We'll call that image as well. No problem. We can probably just get rid of the container altogether. We don't need that. And then inside of our container, what do we have here? We have in the design, we have two things. We have like a title, like a link or whatever. That's really like our chip. And then we have like the actual title of the blog. Okay, so let's just fix this really quickly. We want this to fit the content. The container itself needs to fill. It needs to fit the content. Obviously, we want the title to go to the start. Our text, is there some sort of padding there? No, we want it to be left aligned. Now we're talking. And our text, we want that to fill, obviously. Okay, great. And we want it to fit the content if the title is long. Now, we've set up kind of the majority of what we got going here. There's a little bit of a space in between. And why don't we go back and we'll bring our chip in, because I think our chip actually can sit here. There's our chip. Love it. Okay, great. So we have all of these things inside of a stack. Boom, the card itself is a stack. Let's add a little bit of gap in between our elements. And we need to set the height here to fit the content and to fill. Okay, like that. The parent layer's width has been set to fixed to avoid a layout collapse. That's fine. Okay, great. Okay, so we have our card. We have all of our pieces now. Get kind of some weird stuff. Actually, why don't we bring these out of their own container? We just evenly kind of space them. The card itself. Boom. Start. Love that. 10 pixels. Yeah, that looks perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is with our blog item, we're going to actually start to select the individual elements and connect them to the CMS in the back end, right? So very similar to what we did before with variables. Where is this image coming from? We want to set it to a variable, and we know because it's inside of that blog collection thing, it gives us access to a bunch of variables that are already created. So we want to set it to the image. Boom, there's the image. We don't want it to stretch. We want it to fill. That looks a lot nicer. And we can even set, I love this, we can set the focal point, right? We can say, hey, we want it to be like in the center, or maybe we want it to be like the top left of the image. Look how it switches and changes the image. Let's just keep it to the center there. Overflow hidden. There's the radius. That looks really, really good, okay? So we don't have anything to connect here. Let's grab the title, okay? Our content, where's that coming from? It's gonna come from the title of our CMS, like starting and growing a career in web design. Let's go back to our CMS, look at that. Starting and growing a career in web design, and it has that beautiful image for us. Now, one thing this doesn't have is it doesn't have a tag for us, right? It doesn't have a chip or anything to connect to our chip. So why don't we modify or add some fields, custom fields, to our actual CMS collection. To do that, I'm going to come over, hit the right dots, and just say edit fields. And look at this really familiar interface that we found before. I need to add a new one. It's going to be plain text. And we could have added something like a number or an option or any of those things. Let's do option. That might be a little bit more fun. We'll get rid of this one. And we'll just come back to it. Let's do this. Let's call this tag. Or you know what? I think category might be a little bit more expressive. And now we'll be able to, you know, do these like this. This one could be tech. This could be design. This could be development. This could be Framer, and we're adding all of our selections here. Notice the category here, and we added this new name property. Let's get rid of that. Let's edit this field and just remove that. Boom. So this is how we update, modify, and change all the things that we might need in our CMS collection. Like maybe, for instance, edit field, like you need to add like an author to this blog, right? Then we're going to add a new element here. It could either be a simple plain text, or it could be, if you have consistent authors, you can add them to the database. But we could just do this one, like author, yeah, placeholder, no, text area, no, beautiful. So now when we come in, it's like, hey, who's the author of this? Let's say it's me. Wonderful. Okay. And then we have a category. Let's make this one a category of design. Okay, we'll go out and we could put the author in if we want. We could add that. But what we could also do is just come in here and grab that chip label and say, hey, why don't we grab that from the, where is it? Category. Yeah, display the option. Boom. All of a sudden, we can see all the categories that have been assigned to this. Love it. Wonderful. Okay, let's change the gap here. We might need... Why don't we just do more of a stack here? I think that works a little bit better. Great. Fantastic. And the whole thing, the blog item, let's say it's fixed. If we can bring the fixed width of it down a little bit, we might be able to match. Okay, great. And let's set that to fill. Center align stuff, left align stuff. Our image is set to fix. So why don't we set that to fill? Oh man, we just stacked it and we wrapped it. That's so good. So again, we grabbed our entire blog list container. We said stack, start, wrap, and we added the gap, and everything has come together really, really beautifully. Okay. So we could also set the width here to 1FR. We could do that. Yeah, we just do it like this. Good. Fit the content. That's good. Yeah, I think that should work. Okay. No, that's working beautiful. Okay. So now we have our blog articles that are placed, and again, we could fill in all the content to it if we want, but thankfully Framer has provided all of that wonderful like blog content to get me started, so it's great for our use case here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to update the text inside since we've connected our blog. Boom, like that. And then let's change our chip text to say the word blog like that. I love it. And you know what we're going to do with this too is because we have this kind of container, this section blog, boom shakalaka, we're just going to copy it really quickly, head back over to the home and click inside of our layers here. We're going to add that into our website, and just like that, we stinking did it. This is so beautiful, right? How quick that was to add. I believe that's where it went in our design. Let's just double check. It's underneath the banner, so let's just move it underneath the banner, and then we can make a couple of changes here for our blog list and our blog item. We can say that we want it to fill, like the actual card here. We want it to fill and go to a single, something like that, and fill. Boom. We don't want it to wrap, no wrapping, and stack them from top to bottom. Oh, let's do this. Stack it from top to bottom. Beautiful. All right. So we've just updated everything there. It's a little bit of, we're playing with a little bit of stuff and just getting it like just right, but it works really, really well. Okay. So again, here it's for some reason it's set to fixed on the actual card itself, and we don't want that. Is it set to fixed here? No, it's not. Reset the override. Boom. We want to be set to 1FR. So we're gonna have to do the same thing on all of these. Let's fill. Great. Should be good. blog item. Ooh, set to fill. Oh, okay. Well, we're almost there. We'll come back to it. Let's get back to our blog page because that's the real money for the day. So now we have our blog list here, and we need to build our blog, our actual blog element here. That one actually looks kind of good. Should we just go with it? No, we should not, obviously. Yeah, okay, so we have kind of like a suggested post, and that's kind of interesting because we're gonna basically just reuse our same blog element we made. But why don't we bring in our tag, title, date, and a big image? Okay, so tag, title, and date. Okay, so we need a chip in here, assets, and drag that inside. And for some reason everything's left aligned here. We're gonna want all text to be left aligned as well. So just changing that style. Where are we going to grab the content from? The label. We're going to grab it from our category. Beautiful. And we have the title being displayed. Wonderful. It's being displayed. This is using some random style, right? So why don't we make that more of like a left aligned style, H2, something like that. And then our element here, our date, is more like body copy, so that's good. We're just making sure it's left aligned. Let's take our container and just take any and all padding off of it, so we're just kind of controlling the container. And what do we need at the top though, friends? We need our navigation. That's what we need. I was like, what are we missing? Oh yeah, we're missing our navigation. So let's just come up to the very top and remove all of the padding that's here. Great. It's starting to look exactly like our element. Okay. Now, this is kind of weird because this stack that we have everything in is not representative of what we have elsewhere on the site. So let's go back home really quick. Let's grab one of our trusted sections because just work off of what we've already done, right? Blog page, and pop one of those in. Good. That's, oh, you know what? The section here is a bad one. Why don't we grab one of the other sections, like section pricing or section how it works. That's a good one. Okay, pages, blog, and we come in here and back to our layers, desktop, up, just like that. Okay, great. Now we can take this stack and move it inside the container of that. We can get rid of this, and what are we doing? We're containing the element, which is really what we want. And this element itself needs to be set to fill section header. Not really filling it. Container is there. Okay, so far so good. Okay, we're looking a little bit better. Yeah, okay. The only difference is we need to take these elements, left align everything, don't we? Okay, so let's do that. Left align, grab the text, all this text inside, and left align that. Yep. Getting a little funky here. Let's just stay on point here, folks. All right, grabbing this element, left aligning that. Wonderful. Now, this is interesting because the blog does have like this inner kind of container. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of custom layout here, right? Because this is like very, very narrow. Like, I mean, we're talking 800 pixels, and we want that because blogs should be highly readable, and you don't want the rag or the measure of the text to like, you know, to grow too wide. So we're gonna have to do something a little bit custom here, actually, and that makes a lot of sense. And this stack was set to 600. We could probably drum it up to 700. You know, our design was 800, but let's compromise a little bit. Let's be reasonable, okay? I'm gonna get rid of this section header since we already have one, and it seems like our image is always going to span like much larger than our content, right? So what I'm just gonna do really quickly is I'm just gonna copy and paste a couple of these stacks here really quickly, and everything inside is going to leave except for the banner, and then everything inside this one is gonna leave except for the content, okay? Now track what I'm doing here. I'm recreating things a little bit, and I want everything inside except for the banner and the content on this one, right? So now this stack is set to 700. This stack is set to 700, but this stack itself, right? We can actually take that max width off, and we'll get that nice wide kind of like banner image. The height is set to fixed, and the other one is set to fill. So why don't we really quickly we had more of like this wide image here. Why don't I do this and set my image to fill, and we want it to fill that way, and we just want, there we go, a little bit more narrow, not as tall. All right, so height of about 600, do that. Now we have this nice wide image that's there. And when it comes to our text, obviously we're going to want everything to be left aligned. And let's make sure that that works. Our stack, start left, boom, like this. Then we have content here. Track our body really quickly. It should be left aligned. Everything should be left aligned. And we have some embed section there and tags. Okay, super duper interesting. Why don't we come here and just make sure we grab everything. Oh yeah, we have all this kind of like mixed stuff here, and it's jumping into like center aligned. That's because, what does this career in web design have? That's a heading 2. Let's fix the reason that that is set. Heading 2s should be left aligned like that. Beautiful. Okay, great. Feels pretty good. Although, do we want that thing to be in H2? No, we don't. Like all of these are, I guess we do. That's fine. We'll let that thing fly, and we can handle all of that like later. But what we have now is a pretty decent blog page. And if you want to preview how the rest of your blog pages will look, you can actually come here and click on the page, and you can see the titles to all of your other blogs. So like, how's this one look? How does this one look? Great. Like, should look pretty good. Our navigation is up there. It's a little tall. I think we're still having a weird gap issue. So let's bring the gap of that down. And I think our spacing for our up top piece is a little weird as well. So let's bring the gap to those down to 20. Brings it together just a little bit more. It's nice looking. It looks good, right? Now we need a related posts, okay? And we could do that. So why don't we do that really quickly by first jumping out to the blog. I'm going to grab this whole blog list. Oh, this is going to get crazy. Get ready for Inception. I'm going to now put inside of the content. Why don't we just do another stack really quickly? I'm going to duplicate. Boom. So there's another one below it, except it's not going to have content in it. It's going to have the blog list inside. And now here's where we get to some of the filtering options and some of the kind of like pagination options for your lists that are pulled from the CMS, okay? So we have this blog list, and you can see over here on the right-hand side, we have some CMS content, right? So we want to pull content, the collection from the blog. We can sort it however we want, but we want to filter because this was a tech-related article. So we want to match any of the categories that is equal to tech, only those ones, or actually, sorry, this was a design blog. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to add pagination, load more after how many items? 2 items. Okay, great. Fantastic. So let's go into our CMS really quickly and make a change because we need one of these others. All of them say tech right now. We need one of them to be, another one to be design. That way we can see the effects of this show up. Now we have 2 of those elements. Now our load more button, we don't actually want to be there, right? By turning on the restriction of the amount, it's going to ask you to paginate. But it's really easy to take that pagination control off. All you have to do is just hide this component or delete it. It can go bye-bye. We don't need it, right? So now we can just take our blog list and we can start to figure out how we want them to be in a stack of 2, like so. Let's close that really quickly. We could add a nice little gap inside, and our blog items can be set to fill. And we have that weird spacing. Boom. Blog items. Let's just, our actual cards, the cards themselves need to fill as well. Beautiful. Okay, so now we have our, what do we call it? Related posts, and it's living inside of a section. So I think I should probably, inside of this blog list or inside of this stack, I think I need to add some text. And why don't I just drag it here really quickly? What does it say? It says related posts. All right, great. Related posts. Why don't we just fit the content and fit the content for now, give it a style like a H3 and slap it inside of, need to get inside the stack, right? There, beautiful. Related posts. I love it. Let's grab our entire stack and we can bring the spacing down like so. That feels really, really good. We could change the style to that, but pretty much now we have our blog page. Now let's go do a quick little change so we can preview this whole thing and come into our navigation because we need to relink because we deleted the old blog page. Let's just link it to the new blog like so. Great, fantastic. Let's publish, update and publish our site. Let's open that link, check it out. Kind of cool. Let's head over to blog. There's our blog. Look how pretty that is. And we have our animated banner down below. Love that. We didn't add any sort of hover state or create components out of these, but we could. But let's click on one of these. We can read our blog. It feels really, really nice. Notice our navigation is kind of being cut there. We could fix that really quickly. Let's head back over to our blog page. Take our navigation. Make sure it's set to fill. Same thing here. This one's set to fill. Publish that update and head back. Refresh. Boom. Let's go back to home. I love it. Let's go over to our blank pricing page. We don't have that yet. Our blank contact page. We don't even have a nav there yet. A blog page. I love all of that. Okay, so this is looking really, really good. Now, what we've done is, oh, that was kind of nice. Okay, cool. We're going to scroll down and come back to our home page really quickly. Tuck our menu over there to the left a little more. Great. And we have our home page. And did we want to, in our blog, or let's see, let's go back to Figma here. In our blog here, do we want to limit the amount here as well? Yeah, we could. We could, you know, maybe like 6 is too much. Maybe we want to limit that more to like 3. So why don't we do that inside here as well? We're going to paginate, load more after 3 items, and we're going to take that load more button, delete it. We don't need to see it necessarily, right? And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So let's go jump over to our website again. Scroll down. We have our cards sticking, looking really, really nice. We have our working component right there. Nice little cards. The glow looks good. Our buttons have that hover effect. We got our nice ticker, our animated banner, and we have our blog page that's working really, really nicely. So we can read everything. Go back to the blog, read this one instead. And that is what we've done. We've set it up very, very nicely. I'm just going to make one more quick change, and then we'll probably be done and out of here for the day, folks. We're going to set this to home like that. Boom. Now everything should be rocking. Okay, it's sending us to the right thing. And you know what? That navigation, as we've updated it, just so we can click all the way around, pricing has one. Why, for God's sakes, does contact not have one? Our 404 should probably have one, because our blog has one now as well. So as we're just prepping, we're QAing, we're testing, we're doing all of this, let's just go back and make sure that everything works. And now contact has it. Even though it's a blank page, like we could still work inside and test our website. That feels super good. Man, this thing is really starting to come together. And with that, we are going to say goodbye for the day. We've been streaming for about an hour. That has given us plenty of time to accomplish a lot of things, man. We covered more layout. We covered responsive. We covered fixing and troubleshooting issues. We actually built out animated banners. We used local Framer built components like tickers, and we dove into the very basics of the CMS, setting up our CMS collection and our blog lists, our blog pages, connecting the dots all over the place. And now we have multiple pages on our website. We'll just take a couple minutes here and ask a couple or answer a couple of questions, and then we will be done. All right, a couple more questions here that we had. This is coming from Munmita. Can you please show? Oh, we did that? Absolutely. Cool. Let's move down to Tanner. Is it hard to get your clients to go with Framer over Webflow because it's newer and they aren't familiar with the name? My go-to, Tanner, is that I never sell the specific platform. I sell the features, functionality, and the value that it will bring. So if I find that this website built on Framer is going to bring you a lot more value, that's what I'm really selling. And a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, hey, Jesse, can you build a website for me? We really want a WordPress website. I go, ugh. So I don't want to have a debate about platform. What I start talking about is functionality and value. Hey, Why do you want a WordPress? What is it about WordPress that you love? Well, we want to be able to manage our own CMS. Gotcha. What about like managing and updating the design yourself or the layouts or new pages? They go, yeah, we want to be able to do that too. Awesome. Okay, great. Then I start saying, hey, listen, WordPress is, for me, not a great solution, but I have another solution that is super secure, is better than it in these ways, and it does all those things that you want, and it's much cheaper, simpler, and easier. Would you be interested in that? Because we can make you websites in Framer very, very quickly without having to do all this custom PHP nonsense. It's gonna be really hard for you to maintain. This one would be simpler. They go, oh yeah, that sounds good, as long as it does all those WordPressy things. So I tend to talk about value, not necessarily platform. That's the way I would recommend it. Moonmeat says, just fix the issue with the ticker logo. Can you please show how to password protect the CMS page? Do I need to create a separate page for password input? If yes, how to do that? That's more of an advanced question. Password protecting is in the settings. You can password protect any page. I guess we could show it really quickly. Yeah, why not, Moonmeat? Let's hook you up. Let's make it happen. So when I go into Framer, we've been working in this design mode, but simply by coming up here and pressing the settings, you can see that I have like any of my pages, blog pages, so on and so forth. I can scroll down. Actually, let's go to general, and it's in general that you would set up a global password protection for the whole site. I hope that's what you're asking, but that is the way. You have to upgrade and have a paid account to password protect. That's a little bit more of a paid feature. All right. Jason Gutierrez says, such a beautiful way to have collections and great and easy explanation. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Jason. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for having a good time. Thanks for enjoying and being so awesome, everybody. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. It'll be the final piece of our stream where we finish the rest of our pages. We do all that back-end work for SEO, password protection, Google Analytics, uploading your favicon, getting all the details ready to launch your site or your client's site. We'll talk about analytics and redirects. We'll put in a custom form right here in Framer. We'll do all that fun stuff tomorrow. So join me same time, same place. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday.